Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Grace and today I want to talk about a very popular YA series that I read very recently. I don't have the book with me, I apologize. I borrowed it from my local library, but I'll pop up a picture throughout the video. The book I'm going to be talking about is the first in the Folk of the Air series called The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This book was a kind of a surprise for me to want to read. I originally didn't want to read it at all because I thought it would be like Sarah J Maas's books on fairies, but turns out it pleasantly surprised me. So without further ado, let's get into it. Right. So first thing I want to say about the book, I will be giving out spoilers, so just a disclaimer before we start, I will be doing spoilers, so if you don't want it to be spoiled, please don't click on this video or go read the book and then come back. I'll wait. So first off, I want to talk about Jude, the main character of this book. I will say I did appreciate that she is morally grey. I did like that a lot, and I thought in YA it's quite refreshing to see a character who is not afraid to get her hands dirty and to kill some fools indirectly. But I will say some of it was quite unnecessary, and I felt like at the time it kind of seemed like it could have been a character flaw, absolutely. But it does seem she gets a lot of people hurt indirectly and doesn't seem to really care about them or their opinions. I will say she's probably the most likable character out of the whole series for me, and probably even all of like Sarah J Maas's books as well. Like, she definitely tops it. She does make stupid decisions quite often, but I mean, out of the decisions she does make and her thought process going into things, I did appreciate she actually does think about things before she does it. And whenever we see her go into a battle scenario or like a pretend like melee fight, she seems to get the shit beaten out of her at every opportunity. Like, she doesn't even hold a card to any of the royal fairies, even though they supposedly get less training than her. A nitpick I'm going to add just because I'm petty like that. But I did want to say there is a scene where all three sisters are hanging out in the mall, in the mortal world, and there is a guy that comes up and just really politely thinks she's really pretty and just wants to ask her number, and she decks him. She full on like punches him in the face out of nowhere just because he asked her for a number. This may be controversial for me, but that's not feminism, and that's not endearing or likable at all. That made me actually dislike her for most of the rest of the book, because I thought that was completely unnecessary. And in the mortal world, there is no reason you should be assaulting other people, and particularly when he just asked her number. Like, you could just say no thanks, like I am flattered but I'm not available, or I'm not interested. Just leave it at that. There's no reason for you to full on deck this poor dude because now he thinks you're crazy, like, you know? So, like, just use common sense. And it seems like after that she's like, oh, you know, fairy better watch out for me. I'm so badass. Like, I'm so threatening and evil looking, and oh, I'm so cool. Like, I beat people up on the street. Look out. Like, I'm like, yeah, like, that's great, but you don't have to be a total jerk to everyone you see. My point of view as a reader, it was very obvious that Taryn and Locke were going behind her back. And I'm kind of a little bit irritated that as soon as like Jude found out that Taryn was going with Locke and like she was being like sidelined, she automatically started attacking Taryn and demanded that Taryn have a duel with her. Like, I'm sorry, girls, that's not feminism. That's not like something that I admire characters for. Like, if someone is going behind your back, why would you first attack your sister and not the guy who started it and like planned it out? I don't understand why she didn't go after Locke first. Like, why? Or get more evidence from someone else, like Nicasia or something, or Valerian. Why go straight to Taryn and demand to fight to the death with Taryn? Like, I don't get it. Especially when Taryn showed no interest in sword fighting whatsoever. Like, you're just asking her to get hurt just because you want to take your anger out on someone, you know? So that's not really healthy for a sibling relationship, and it's not healthy for women to be able to fight between themselves instead of like addressing the actual problem. I also want to say, if Maddox is only her father, is only part of one court of like the princes, basically they have different courts and he's only part of one court, And supposedly the girls are like the only actual mortals that go to any of the revels and the parties and stuff and go to school. I just wanted to ask, like, why is it that all the princes and princesses know all of the sisters personally? Like, some of the sisters know Vivi personally, and they talk to Vivi very often, but all of them know who the others are. Like, I don't, on a personal level, not like a name-to-name basis, but on like a friendship basis. Like, they all know who they are and like everything. I thought that was weird. I was disappointed in this book how once Dane confronted her about being his spy, how quickly she agreed to it and changed her whole life goals. Because leading up to that point, for the first like quarter of the book, her whole life goal is to be a knight in the courts. And then as soon as Dane has like a whole half conversation with her, she suddenly decides that she's going to be a spy for the courts now. But she always knew that was a thing, so I'm not really sure what made her change her mind so quickly. And I was kind of disappointed because I thought like her whole deal was that she was so self-driven that she would make her own way in the courts. So to have like everything handed to her and for her not to go through any other real training, which we never see, by the way, which I'm so disappointed about, just seemed kind of like a weird 180 for her character, and like made her seem very like unsuspicious and assuming. Note, what I'm saying previously, I just thought of this, but if everyone in the courts knows who she is and knows her sisters by name, wouldn't they be suspicious of someone who they know going, sneaking around the castles and stuff? Like, why would you make someone who's so noticeable in the courts because they're mortal become a spy? It doesn't make sense to me. That seems really weird. Saying this book, Carden is a piece of shit. I'm not sure why everyone's fawning over him. I don't get the hype as of yet, but we'll see later on in the series. But the writing and the world building in this book is quite good. I thought the world building was interesting, and learning from different fairy races and the different species that can exist in this world was really cool. The way magic was used was interesting enough. It is kind of bland after a while, but it does make sense that everything in that world would be magical to some degree. So that does make sense to me, and it was interesting learning about it from different perspectives and what type of magic has what kind of consequences. That was really cool. Ending was okay for me personally. I'm not into enemies to lovers romance, so I'm kind of curious to know where this goes, but I think the end pair is pretty predictable from the start. Interesting to see how they get from enemies to lovers, but it's not my favorite trope in romance, so I'm kind of on the fence about it. But I'm hoping if Carden improves his behavior and gives us something to root for, then I'm sure I'll like it. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe, like and share. Comment below if you want to see more videos, and see you next time.